welcome to Off Grid Chris. This video we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of ridges. So when I was thinking about this, the cons were very hard to come up with because really I see them as being, I'd never change this style of growing ever again. Not just because the effort gone into digging these, but because I believe in the results I've seen from our previous garden down there. So I'll jump into it then with the cons, which are the labourers. To dig a ridge, even just one ridge, it is hard work. You've got to cut the ground, you've got to fold it, you've got to dig on the turf and drop it back in. If you haven't watched my video on how to dig a ridge and cut a ridge in, I suggest watching that first, because then a lot of it will come into play and you understand from that then on what I'm talking about. The next con is, for the first 2 years you've got to do a lot of weeding. I mean, it's a lot of weeding, because if you, we've got a little boy that thinks he's a dog. What you will have is, because you're digging the soil from down low and bringing to the top, you're then going to have the weed seeds from there come up, so they could have been 50 years later and they'll germinate. Just like our previous beds down there. What we're noticing this year is, so last year all we had is the growth from the stuff underneath, so stuff like nettles and bracken, things that we had to root out. But this year what we're noticing is we've got creeping buttercup and also dock leaves, which are easy to get on top of if you get them young. So again, intensive weeding for the first 2 years. Intensive weeding for the first 2 years, and then it's back to normal basically. And then the last one that I can really think of, the negative with it is, and this is, I say this very lightly, is the damage of soil structure within the bed. Now, I don't feel there's that much damage, although it looks a bloody mess now. You know, I don't feel that there's that much soil damage as in the structure of it, because a lot of it is folded. So from the bottom here you've got the original soil line, which is untouched, and then when you fold that over from the path, and it's really only the path that is getting the damage as you dig down path. So you fold that over and then you dig up and chuck into the middle. So really a lot of it is just left chucked in and not really damaged as much. There's probably about as much damage as there would be if you were to put one of these beds here, make a wooden frame and fill it with compost. That's the kind of thing you get in there, because you're breaking up the compost to throw it in, but you've still got the soil structure underneath. So if you're a no digger, then this is about as close as you'll get to no digging with digging. And now that brings me on to then the pros, which is you get, so again, if you start off gardening, you might be discouraged by the price of it. If you're thinking of building a box, like I say, and then fill it with compost, it's extremely expensive. This way I got a foot deep bed for free, so it cost me nothing other than a bit of work. Obviously we still had the spade and thing to dig it with, but I guess you could dig it with your hands if you fancied it, but not for me. So obviously it costs nothing for this bed to be made, and it's a foot deep. You know, after this you can plant carrots in there and they won't get touched by the carrot root fly. Again, they're that height off. Good boy. The next pro is you get a lot of good soil quality, because of what I mean by that is when you fold the ridge over, what you're having is the upside there where the grass, roots, everything else, whatever you may have, the plants or vegetation, is suddenly being folded on top of itself, killed off, and then that then rots down and you get a good release of whatever nutrients you've got within that. It could be carbon from the root source or nitrogen from the leaves or whatever, you know. So that feeds your plants, which once you've done them, so the next sorry, once you have done a ridge, you can plant directly in it straight away, no drama. Like with these ones here, we dug them and we planted the, come here, good boy, we planted the, I'll just hop on it, planted the potatoes in them, and it's as easy as just pushing your hand with the potato in. It's that easy, just straight under the fold. That's where I tend to aim them into, and then we mulched over on top. Good boy, leave them in. The next pro is once you have dug them, you don't have to touch them again. That's it, they're over and done with. Well, they are for me anyway. I don't fancy doing them again because, as I say, they are hard work to do. But good boy. So what we will do then is, which is what's happening in the other beds, is they are getting a layer of compost on top. So they'll get about 2 to 3 inches, won't they? Yeah, of compost on top, which will again start to bury them weed seeds that we talked about earlier as one of the cons. They'll start to bury them weed seeds, and then the only weed seeds that eventually you'll get is from the compost that you make yourself, which inevitably you'll get weed seeds within your compost, whether you buy it or make it yourself, or even just having bare soil itself, because you're going to get opportunistic weed seeds floating past that will land and sprout and all of it anyway. Another pro, which I must say is one of the main things that drew me to do ridges first when I first researched them and moved over to Ireland, was the drainage. Now, the shape that you want with the ridge is you want it to arch over like this, the best you can. You don't want it dipping in the middle or anything like that. So as you see, all of ours are all arched over, as this will, any excess water, which in Ireland we tend to get a lot of excess water, will shed over to the valleys, and then these channels here that are cut, well, once we dig this, cut this path back in, sorry, all this will be removed. These channels will just flow down, and then we'll have a little drainage down at the bottom where it'll take it away down into the land we've cut down there. Climbing all over. So what you won't get is you won't get pooling within your veg beds or anything, because again, you need a hell of a lot of water and you're a foot up off the ground to start with, and that's at the lowest point, which also helps with, I'll go down here, I'll show you on the video from the bed, sorry, that we did on the video, because on the video you can see when I dug it over how wet it actually was. This down here, with all the reeds, you can tell reeds are a good indicator that you've got wet soil. How it's dried out, you know, it's dried out nice. You've got a nice, it's a good moisture level is that. It's going to still keep moisture within the plants, and obviously we ain't had rain for about a week, would you say? About a week, I'd say. It's been lovely, sunny, good weather. So this down here, which was just meaning when you dug it, you just got a big gulp of all that wet pressure just sticking in there, and now it's dried out and that's on top there. So if you're dealing with, again, really wet soil, really boggy land, again, just do it. Another thing that you're doing is creating soil. So in the west of Ireland, they were originally done these as a measure of, they didn't have much soil from the bottom. They didn't have much soil to play with, because where we are, close to the Burren, it's very, what's the word now? It took me a minute, but the bedrock, we're very close to the bedrock. So what they would have originally, if you go along the fields here, you can just see piles of stones and the bedrock raising up as well. But So basically, as you see, you can turn even if this is the bedrock here, I'm turning this over on itself and still creating that 1 foot deep bed, so you can still get a good depth of soil to build with. And the last pro is the neatness. I like things nice, neat lines, good flow, nice and square. And as you can see, well, this section here anyway, we've still got to finish this section over here. These are the beds, which is still another 4 more beds. We have that. We have nice, neat area. We have it, as I mentioned in the video, we have it in 4 groups, of 3 beds. So I'll just turn around so you can see me. I've not got back to the camera. So we'll have 3 beds here, another 3 with 1 metre paths going in between, and then that splits it up, so it's good for likes of crop rotation, even good for things with the soil. Oh, you're right. Because the soil up here is different to down there. As you see, it's very dark and organic matter down there because of the dampness. It's held it there. Here, these top beds were very clear, as you can see here. You know, rock solid clay, so which is obviously a good sign of fertility. But we can grow different crops up here than we can down there as well. So that about brings me to the end of this video. I hope you found it informative, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it and also subscribe to my channel, because that'd be awesome. And we'll catch you on the next video.